Welcome back, friends, to another The City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Lids87 here, and today I am bringing you guys another Are They Worth It video, where I cover units, their pros and cons on an upcoming banner to see if they are worth your precious tickets and or gems. Now, before I get into it though, friends, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers. Thank you guys very much. I truly appreciate the love and support. Now, on September 14th, UTC 10, we will be getting a captain's loyalty in the form of Basch. Basch will be getting a rework, and he will also be getting enhancement boards. It says Barrett, but Barrett's with 9. That's 9 over there. And surprisingly, they're both tanks, so you guys get to pick and choose which tank you want. But let me tell you why I like Basch. All right, so of course the character on this banner will be Basch. So Noctis's burst weapon will be on here. A lot of players already know that this is the banner to go on if you are going to be chasing for Noctis's burst. If you haven't gotten it already or haven't pitied it already, this is an excellent banner to go in on. And of course, you have Bond in the upper right hand corner, Basch's EX weapon and Sarah's EX weapon. They will also be featured here. So if you were a new player and you did miss out on Bond's kit, for example, this is a good place to pick it up. So let's go ahead and take a look at Basch and what he's going to be bringing again to the table. The very first thing I do want to talk about Basch is actually his LD, what his LD brings to the table and what it's going to be doing for your party. All right, so his LD ability, Indomitable Palisade, okay? It does all that wonderful damaging stuff, right? LD ability is going, do damage, wonderful damage, dump it out. Hey, excellent, great. But he will also be refunded 30% of the HP damage dealt, which is pretty nice. This will also inflict lock on all the enemies. This will grant him a new buff called Indomitable for 5 turns. Now, what this does is will increase his stolen max rate of overflow by 30%, increases attack by 40%. And this is the most important part about this, is that when taking HP damage and HP drops below 50% of max HP, this will restore HP back to 50% of max HP. So it's going to be a little bit harder to kill him off. And we're going to touch upon this a little bit later in the video. Next slide, actually. And this will also grant him his buffs, Kingdom Shield and HP damage reduction, which we're going to talk about here in a second. So do you need his LD? Yes, you need his LD. He's going to be unkillable with this thing. And truth be told, this is also another good spot to pick up his LD here, because he is repeated on a later date when Terra's LD and burst weapons debut in the game, and he is on the other banner alongside Terra. So if you pick this up now, you can primarily focus on chasing for Terra if you want to pick her up as soon as she debuts, or her weapons debut into the game. And if that's the case, then you could think of this as a long-term investment, because Basch will get LD extensions when his LD weapon does repeat. Now that we spoke about his LD, let's take a look at this guy's pros, because he's a really good tank, guys. All right, so first and foremost, this guy cannot die. He can't freaking die, okay? So with his crystal level 10, he survives all lethal. So what that means is if a unit takes damage that would normally kill them, if their HP is above 50% HP, they will survive with 1 HP left, regardless of how overkill, so to say, the enemy dumped out that brave into HP damage on your unit, in this case Basch. There's a lot of units that do that, and he is one of those units. He will survive with 1 HP. Now, stick this on top of his LD buff, Indomitable. If his HP drops below 50% HP and he is healed back up to 50%. So this guy can be taking hits and surviving lethal hits. He can survive death, so to say, if his HP is already above 50% HP. So it's going to be very, very hard to kill off Basch unless he is either like dispelled or some kind of dispel cleanse on your party. That's primarily the way he's going to die. So aside from that, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to kill off Basch. Now, if you need to be a buff like the 80% threshold, depending on what summons, blessing you have equipped, he is able to sustain his own HP. He also has other things in his kit that gives him great survivability. Now, as you guys saw with his LD, he is able to inflict lock, and he is also able to do this with his first ability, Fulminating Darkness, and he gets these other things along with his first ability, also Kingdom Shield, which will now take all AoE HP damage to himself, and this will reduce brave damage by 60%. So not only is he target locking all the enemies, he is taking all the AoE HP damage to himself. So your allies will take the brave damage, but he is taking the HP damage. And to help him survive this, he is able to reduce HP damage by 60%. So With his first ability, he locks all the enemies, grants himself Kingdom Shield, and also he grants himself HP damage reduction by 60%. It's gonna be very hard to kill this guy off. That's gonna be the common theme here. Basch is hard to kill off. So he is an excellent tank. He's an excellent AoE HP tank. He is able to reduce damage, and he is able to sustain his own HP. Excellent tank, guys. He's a very good tank to pick up. With the second ability, Rune Impotent, he grants himself a buff called Knight's Aptitude. Now with the second ability, he is able to heal himself. And what this does is this will grant him plus 50% to max brave if you also pick up the Southeast enhancement board path. This will, grand total will be at 50% max brave, and he will also grant himself plus 40% to attack. So aside from Basch literally protecting your party members from HP damage, he also has party-wide stat buffs. So with his Dalmatia's Valiant, which is with his EX ability Flame Purge, he will grant the allies plus 25% to attack, plus 45% to max brave. With his Crystal C68, he will grant the party plus 10% to attack and 10% to HP. And on top of that, with his LD Limit Break passive, so Limit Break 1, 2, and 3, once it's fully maxed out, he will grant an additional plus 20% to max break and plus 40% to attack to the party. All of this is to the party friends, and the fact that Dalmatia's Valiant is a unique buff on Basch, you can't stack other types of party-wide attack buffs on top of this, just so your party can really dish out the damage. So excellent tank, some pretty good stats to the party if I do say so myself, and he is also able to brave heal the party with Rune Impotent and his upgraded brave attack. Now if you guys are asking yourself EX Plus recommendations, now if you want them just as a tank, alright, keep that in mind. If you want them primarily just as a tank, EX Plus 1 out of 3, because at 0 out of 3, when you realize his EX weapon, he will moderately restore his own HP based on HP damage dealt, so there's another source of HP healing. Another source is from his upgraded HP attack. And he will convert any extra HP healing into Brave. And at EX Plus 1 out of 3, this will further raise his recast speed, so there's one in the base limit breaks, and there's one here, so it should be at slightly fast, if I did my math correctly. And when the quest starts, he gets access to his Flame Purge, his EX ability buff, Dalmatia's Valiant. And this is the buff that grants your party members 25% to attack and 45% to max brave. So right off the bat, there's that party-wide utility. So at least EX Plus 1 out of 3 as a tank. If damage wise, you take him to EX Plus 3 out of 3, because boosted attack and max brave, and there's going to be more damage done by Flame Purge. He does have Flame Purge Plus, which his HP has to be at least at 50%, and it's going to be dishing out more damage. So these are my recommendations depending on your situation and how many ingots you have in your stash. Now, if you do happen to max out his EX Plus, his EX weapon, and you will receive a B-type bonus sphere. Now, after taking an attack, the wielder of this bonus sphere will raise their attack by 20% for 3 turns. This is pretty good with tanks, because what are they going to be doing? They're going to be taking HP damage from the target. Now, all these wonderful things, there are a few cons that you do have to keep an eye out for. Do not drop his lock, his target lock. Do not drop that. Refresh it. Use his first ability. There you go. Or use his LD ability. Lock all the enemies, because he mainly protects your allies from AoE HP damage, right? He doesn't give his HP damage reduction, his brave damage reduction, to the allies. That is just on himself. So they'll still take the brave damage, but the HP damage is all on top of lock. So be on the lookout for stages where they're immune to debuffs, or they're immune to target lock. There are some bosses that are immune specifically to target lock. That doesn't mean it makes Basch worthless. He isn't taunting up for the party members anymore. So the only main thing at that point that he will be taking for himself is the AoE HP damage. So single target damage, he can't protect your allies. And also be on the lookout for enemies that do cleanse themselves. There's a lot of enemies, a lot of bosses that do cleanse any type of debuffs on themselves, so just be careful with that. And of course, over time, just be sure to pair him up with any form of good brave battery, any damage enhancer of some sort. So anything elemental enhancer, impaler, just so he can stay up to date with the damage until he gets his LD extension, and we will talk about that in a later part in the video. Alright friends, it's that part of the video. It is time to look to see if Basch, if he is worth it. Is he worth your precious tickets and or gems? Tickets, yes. Gems, he is totally worth it. If you're here for Noctis, that's more than enough reason for you guys to pity on this banner. So Basch is an excellent tank. I can't tell you how good of a tank he is during this time frame. He is a great tank to pick up and invest in, right? So enemy lock, he can taunt up all enemies, so to say. Takes all AoE HP damage. He is protecting your allies from that HP damage. 60% brave damage reduction, 60% HP damage reduction. He is able to take a lot of this damage onto himself and survive. Sustains his own HP. He can survive lethal with his crystal level 10, and pair this up with his LD above Indomitable. He will heal back up to 50% when his HP drops below 50%. It's going to be extremely hard to kill off Basch. He does have party-wide buffs in terms to stats, so plus in total plus 75% to party attack, plus 10% to party HP, and plus 65% to max brave. So if you're already pulling on this banner because of Noctis, hey, awesome. You already know that this is a great banner. If you're asking yourselves if this is a great banner, if Basch is pity worthy, yes, he is. Now, let's say you guys did happen to pick up Noctis's burst on his debut banner, and you guys don't want Basch right now. When does he come back? I did mention earlier that he actually does come back on the Terra burst and LD debut banner. Now, this isn't, Terra's LD is not on here. It is a repeat of Basch's LD weapon. The other banner has Terra's LD and burst weapons. This one only has her burst weapon. Now at this point, this is where Basch does receive his LD extensions on his enhancement boards. So what that pretty much does is the damage is done twice, you know, 2 sets of Brave plus HP attacks with Brave recovery in between. He will be able to heal the party member's HP based on how much HP damage is dealt. And there are some new effects added to his Indomitable buff from his LD ability. So one of them is that he will increase brave damage dealt by up to 30%, and there will also be brave healing per turn to party members. Now that 30% brave damage dealt up is going to help out his damage, because those unfamiliar, once we do reach the Lufenia era, kind of like how Chaos, when it first started here, you know, as time went on, the bosses get increased defense the closer they are to dying. Lufenia has brave damage reduction, so any form of brave damage up, either whether it be by some kind of buff or debuff, be on the lookout for those, because it's going to help you surpass or jump over that brave damage reduction that is naturally on Lufenia bosses. And if you guys are just unfamiliar with Terra herself, Terra with her LD, it's kind of like the Lightning's LD ability once we do reach that point, where for 4 turns free turns back to back, and free ability uses. So almost like Vaughn, like how we currently have, if you guys aren't familiar with Lightning. So almost like Vaughn, but they get to act back to back to back instead of just whenever their turn happens to pop up, and they still get the free ability uses. With the burst effect, kind of like Lightning's also, increases HP damage dealt, brave damage dealt, HP damage limit, brave overflow, and brave refund. So if you did happen to miss out on Basch, if you're newer to the game or you just didn't have the resources, this is another spot where he will be repeating. But if you can, I would recommend that you pick up Basch now, so you could chase for Terra's LD weapon and burst potentially on her debut banner. That is it for this video, friends. I want to thank you for watching my Basch. Are they worth it? Or I guess in this case, is he worth it? Be sure to let me know down below in the comments your guys' plans for this banner. Me personally, I'm going to use a lot. I think I'm going to use a lot of tickets. I did get very blessed and lucky chasing Noctis. If you can, you could hardly call that a chase. So, but because of the more recent Odin summon board, I was able to do that in 2 days, and I'm actually capped out on tickets. So that's a good problem to have. I can't collect anything, but I'm capped out at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But in one form or the other, I do want to get Basch's LD and EX weapons, because I would love to have them. And you guys saw that he does come back later down the line, so he is there for the longevity. All right, friends. So again, down below in the comments, your thoughts, your concerns about this banner. How are you going to go ham on this banner? And until next time, friends, good luck and have a good one.